Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just a little over 2 weeks away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that a lot of people have different feelings about this movie before they go ahead and see it or not see it. A lot of fans are very excited, worried about this movie, apathetic towards this film, and especially this is all based on what we have been hearing, what we have seen in the interviews by J.J. Abrams and others affiliated with Disney and Lucasfilm, as well as some of the TV spots that have been pretty much demonstrated by Disney on television. Now, with that being said, The Rise of Skywalker is going to be a very important film to both Disney and Lucasfilm because this really does determine the future of the Star Wars franchise and exactly where things are going to go after, of course, the sequel trilogy, the new Star Wars trilogy, everything on Disney Plus, you name it. Now, with The Rise of Skywalker all set and ready for its release on the 19th, what's really unfortunate has all to do with Disney's plan with The Rise of Skywalker and the changes and adjustments that they made with this movie. Now, it's explained that through many of the reshoots and rewrites of the film by Disney and Lucasfilm during the months of August, September, and October is when many changes were made to the film by Disney and Lucasfilm. It's explained that these changes were all done by Kathleen Kennedy and Disney to set a different tone for the film and to cater to the general audience in the movie. It's explained that one of the big changes during the reshoots of the film was to implement as much identity politics and agenda-driven tactics into the film as possible that would reach out to the general audience, and that Disney and Lucasfilm will set an example of these themes from start to finish of the movie. It's explained that the original cut of the film didn't have as much diversity as the characters of Rose, Jannah, Poe, and Finn had far less screen time in the initial cut of the film. It's explained that in order to give those characters more screen time and to promote diversity is that they had to sacrifice and delete many scenes related to the characters of Palpatine, Kylo Ren, Rey, and even, of course, Luke Skywalker, and that Palpatine's screen time was greatly reduced to promote diversity in the film by Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, it's explained that these changes were mainly done by Kathleen Kennedy and that both Finn, Poe, Jannah, and others now have far more screen time over the other characters like Palpatine and Luke Skywalker in this movie, where it's explained that these decisions were made in mid-August, where they were first starting the major changes, the reshoots, etc., to create a different tone for the film. It's said that originally there was going to be numerous scenes in the film that would actually feature Palpatine in the second act. However, all of Palpatine's scenes in the middle of the film have been deleted and replaced with scenes for characters like Finn, Poe, Jannah, and more. Now, though Palpatine will have scenes in the first and third acts of the film, it's said that his screen time is now said to be around 12 minutes instead of the original 25 minutes from the original cut of the movie. Additionally, it's noted that Disney and Lucasfilm reduced many of the Luke Skywalker scenes that consisted of flashbacks to insert scenes that would support diversity and would include further identity politics in their upcoming Star Wars film that would end the Skywalker saga that started back in 1977. These changes reduced Luke's screen time by 50% and that they reduced Palpatine's as well in the third and first act. One of the major scenes that actually is said to be a part of Episode 9 that were added in to replace Palpatine's scene in the second act was a sequence between Poe, Finn, and Jannah grouping together and developing a plan to destroy the First Order and the new Sith Empire, where Jannah is said to make a major revelation in the second act of the film, where Finn's backstory and origins will be explained as well. The second act is said to have many examples of identity politics and Disney's agenda that they are using in the latest Star Wars film. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing about The Rise of Skywalker that I do have a problem with as of right now is that Disney and Lucasfilm are really pushing this diversity thing in The Rise of Skywalker to the max. Now, not to be mistaken here, I'm all for diversity, but just don't really do it to the point where, you're shoving it down our throats, or you're kind of really just forcing it into the movie where it doesn't really feel natural or right, where it just comes off as you pushing off an agenda. Now, that's the problem here, is that Disney and Lucasfilm, they are using this movie essentially, from what it seems, as a vessel to send their own message to the general audience, right? To me, it seems like identity politics, diversity, and their own agenda is going past the storytelling. That's where, I care about things, is that when you focus more so on that than the overall storytelling of Episode 9, and the fact that they reduced Palpatine's scenes, and the fact that they deleted all the Palpatine scenes in the middle of Episode 9 to replace with characters like Jannah, Poe, Finn, Rose, in order to promote diversity. It just is another example of Disney and Lucasfilm's incompetence with this movie, and exactly how they really don't know exactly what Star Wars really is. You know, it really makes me want to go back to the time where movies weren't really used as a vessel to promote their own agenda, to promote identity politics, and to promote diversity. You know, it was never really like this with Hollywood. It really kind of started at its peak in 2011 to 2012 is where it all began to start. And now it's really at its maximum here, where you see a lot of examples out there like Terminator Dark Fate and Ghostbusters 2016. I mean, the list goes on. I can go on and on with this. So that's my only problem. You know, I'm not against diversity in any way, shape, or form. You know, I support diversity to a certain extent, but when it's really being forced, you know, to the point where Disney and Lucasfilm are just doing this for the sake of doing it and just using the Star Wars brand as a way to push diversity, that's where I personally have a problem. And that's being honest right now. That's where I have a literal issue with Disney and Lucasfilm. You know, I've been very respectful to the Star Wars franchise over the years, as you all know, and with the rise of Skywalker now on the horizon, and knowing that they're going to be pushing their agenda even further than how they did with The Last Jedi, I think that this is yet another example of just Disney and Lucasfilm not learning from the backlash that The Last Jedi received, you know, based on what they did with that movie, the character of Luke Skywalker, you name it. The fact that diversity in this movie completely destroyed the screen time of Palpatine and even the screen time of Luke Skywalker, it really just makes you roll your eyes toward this. I gotta say, I mean, you have a movie called The Rise of Skywalker, right? Skywalker is in the title. And judging by the leaks that we have been going over, the meaning of the title is that Rey calls herself a Skywalker. She identifies as a Skywalker, and that's the meaning of the title. It has nothing to do with Luke or Anakin. It's almost like Disney and Lucasfilm were using the name Skywalker to draw in the fans. And to me, I feel that's not really right. That's just my own opinion. But with that, that being said here with Episode 9, you know, we really are just weeks away to see exactly how the fans are going to determine how the movie is for themselves once it releases. On the 11th in Japan, we have a actual, you know, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker premiere, and on the 16th over in Los Angeles, we also have a premiere as well that's gonna pretty much promote all the reactions on Twitter. And that's going to be very interesting to see exactly how the critics are really going to respond to this movie once they go ahead and see it. Now, be aware, I just want you guys to be aware, and I'm being real here, when you guys watch those reactions on Twitter by the critics, you know, by the reviewers that actually saw the film at the premiere in Los Angeles, just be aware that a lot of them may not be truthful, because we've seen a prime example of this with The Last Jedi, where they really overhyped Luke's presence in The Last Jedi, saying that he is like, you know, the John Wick of Star Wars or something like that, or, you know, he goes full, you know, out in action scenes. That was, I believe, from one of the actors that went to go ahead and see the movie. I mean, there were tons of Twitter reactions that did not match the actual movie itself. So, obviously, you know, they can't say anything too bad about the movie, because otherwise they would not be invited to any more premieres associated with Disney. So, you can only imagine, you know, what it's going to be like. But we actually did have some reactions that were truthful for The Last Jedi, so keep an eye out for The Rise of Skywalker's reactions. Again, guys, this is just me being honest, and I feel that's all that's important, and that's just me being honest here of everything, how I feel about Disney's, you know, plan with The Rise of Skywalker. I feel that all these identity politics and their agenda-driven tactics should really be put to the wayside and taken out of a movie, and to just focus more on storytelling. You know, if the characters, you know, promote diversity and need diversity, fine. But that's only if the characters need it. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it, just to push things forward by using the Star Wars brand. So, with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
crescent moon, we hear them once again.